We have seen a big issue in striking a fair, or let's say a good faith balance. When you're a monopoly, things change. They are all guilty of having been too aggressive in how they are policing their users. You won't agree with everyone's opinion, but at least you will have everyone's opinion.
Here are the main 4 pieces of a core transaction. So let's think about, what actions do these platforms take to regulate content and users today? So here are the 4 steps. You create content, you create a tweet, you create a post on Instagram. The platform then helps to connect that content. Then the platform helps a consumer consume that content. So, you're reading the tweet, you're watching the video, and then compensate. That could be you leaving a like, or say sharing the tweet, liking the video, etc. So you have these 4 steps of the core transaction. So these platforms will, on the create step, if they ban your account from Twitter or Facebook, well, now you can't create anymore. So the create step is gone. Or now you created a tweet, you're trying to post that tweet, and then they'll shadow ban your tweet, right? On this connection piece of the chart here, you're still able to create and post the tweet, but no one's actually able to see it, right? So you have either I can ban or suspend the user from Twitter altogether. I could take down their individual tweet or post, right? So those are both on the create stage. The third mechanism is to shadow ban. So you pretty much have these 3 mechanisms to regulate content and regulate usage on these content platforms. Twitter modifying the president's tweet is now a 4th mechanism, right? It's saying it's kind of a more diluted step from those past 3. If I'm banning your account altogether, that's the most aggressive. If I'm taking down your post, then that's the second most aggressive. If I am shadow banning your post, I guess that's the third most aggressive. And then the 4th one here is I still let people see it, but now it has this info button that basically says, you're fake news and this tweet is incorrect. And, here's the real opinions, right? And so what we've already seen, take out that 4th mechanism. What we've seen on just those 3 existing mechanisms is we have seen a big issue in striking a fair, or let's say a good faith balance. So let's look at this, right? There have been a myriad of issues here around Twitter suspensions. This is the Wikipedia page. You can see Rose McGowan having her account suspended, Courtney Love, and they've got a bunch of kind of the high profile cases on of Twitter, banning users either permanently or temporarily. I mean, this is a long list. Okay. So there's the Twitter list. You've got Facebook here banning. This was just this past December. Facebook banned this journalist, shared his YouTube video, which was about YouTube censoring creators. And then Facebook took that down. So what is the guy left to do? You have Twitter here suspending this person who was tweeting about hoping like Baby Yoda would die painfully. This guy got suspended from Twitter. Twitter didn't take too kindly to that, and they suspended his account. You have a lot of religious groups here. Censorship of Christian viewpoint threatens your internet freedom. Point is, there are a lot of examples of content platforms taking down content that it's a very thin line to say, is that content inappropriate? Is it harmful? If we look back at this section 230, obscene and lewd content. I mean, that could be a pretty broad definition, right? If something's obscene or lewd. So it kind of depends on your perspective, right? If you're really not religious, or you don't believe in God, or you don't like Christianity, for example, then yeah, you could probably flag a lot of that content. If you've got an army of, say, Twitter trolls like the Chinese government does, and the Chinese government then sends this massive army of Twitter trolls to flag content that is demeaning towards the Chinese Communist Party, and then that content gets taken down, it's well documented, it works very well for them, then, what you're seeing is these platforms take down this content, and they're hopefully doing it in good faith, right? They're hopefully doing it to try and keep a prosperous ecosystem that people like to, they're not offended from, and they keep coming back to use the service. Now, here's the challenge with all of this. They're monopolies. And so you see this in the executive order about this kind of public forum concept. So when you're a monopoly, things change. Because if I only have one channel to get my message out, right? Or that Facebook person that was banned, right? YouTube took down his video about YouTube censorship. Then he tried to go post an article on Facebook about YouTube censorship and taking down his stuff. You just don't have any channels to go. And oh, by the way, creating content for YouTube videos is very different than creating content for Facebook. Is very different than creating content for Twitter. So especially if you have a business or you have a huge following, right? The type of content or the product, the inventory you're creating for each one of these platforms doesn't translate one-to-one from Twitter to Facebook to YouTube. These are very different content formats, which means it's effectively a different business, or it's effectively a different product that the creators are creating to give to the platform for free. And the argument that these are private businesses makes perfect sense. That, if they have a terms of service, you violate the terms of service, they can take down your content, they can ban you, and so on and so forth. That makes perfect sense. I'm all about democracy and capitalism, more than anyone, or just as much as anyone. But it changes when you are the only channel, when you are essentially the only public forum to make your voice heard, which is some of what the executive order spoke to. And why that matters is you now need to err on the side of restraint if you are the platform and trying to interpret Section 230. And you say, this might be considered obscene or lewd or excessively violent or harassing. But if you do ban this person from your service, they really don't have anywhere else to go. And that's what really changes the dynamic here. So we'll see if the FCC and the FTC are able to make the leap around considering these things monopolies. I think the FCC commissioner, the FTC commissioner, both do think that these platforms are monopolies. I don't think they've been able to make the legal case that they are monopolies. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to come out and start breaking up Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all these kinds of things. But what should happen and what you want to see is you want to see these platforms, instead of having now 3 mechanisms and now Twitter adding a 4th mechanism, this kind of modifying the content, you want to see less of that. You want to see less things or no things being modified, right? You want to see that 4th mechanism go away. You want to see less people. Doesn't matter if they are religious, if they are left, if they are right. You want to see less people being banned. You want to see less content being taken down. You want to see less content being shadow banned. You want to see less regulation from the platform to the producers, to the suppliers. This will mean that the consumer actually is hurt in this scenario, that the consumer is exposed to content that could be considered obscene or lewd or harassing or violent, more so than maybe that consumer would want. Now, let's keep in mind that consumers have the ability to hide content from certain users. They have a lot of functions that they can do to just not see content if it is offensive to them or if they don't want to see it. So you are able to kind of self-select the type of content you want to see as the consumer. But the producers need to be protected. And that's what this executive order has set into motion. Rather, that is what Twitter's 4th mechanism, the modifying mechanism, has set into motion. These are events that have now begun, and you can't roll them back. The FCC is launching an investigation. The FTC is launching an investigation. And there is going to be some form of penalty for certainly Twitter. But as I was going over these examples, YouTube included, they are all guilty of having been too aggressive in how they are policing their users and the content created on the ecosystem. This is the beginning of a new phase of the FTC and the FCC actively monitoring the activities of content platforms and what they do to police their users. And you know what? If there is more potentially offensive content on the platform, good. It's a good thing. That's what this country is about. Freedom of speech. You won't agree with everyone's opinion, but at least you will have everyone's opinion. And right now, what we're trying to do is have these platforms act as if they are the single arbiter of truth and that they are going to be able to figure out what is true and what isn't, and what is appropriate and what isn't. And the point is, that's not what they're supposed to do. If there's something extremely offensive and extremely harmful, then yes, they should take action. And that mechanism is still there. Now, I'll give the platforms the benefit of the doubt in the sense that the government has not waded into these waters and provided guidance about what is inappropriate and what is appropriate content to take down. Just like if I yell fire in a movie theater and there is no fire, I can get in trouble for that. I can go to jail because I'm, falsely inciting fear and panic into the public. And there has been a public discourse around that, and there's been precedent, and it's been tried in the court system. And that is now just kind of a known behavior. You can't just erroneously yell fire if there is no fire. That's a problem. Same kind of idea here. We have never had public guidance from the government, and I think you're going to get that. And I think you're going to see some punitive action come down on one or all of these platforms to varying degrees, Twitter being probably the one with the biggest target on its back. I would much rather see more content, more freedom of speech, more offensive stuff on the internet than less offensive stuff. Hi, this is Alex from Winner Take All. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to leave a comment, ask us questions, and definitely make sure to join us on our next live stream.